Our natural environment is like a life support system. The oceans, glaciers, and waterways, the air we breathe, the land we use for food and resources, and the flora and fauna that form the intricate web of life. Life would not be possible without all of these things existing in harmony. Everything we do at home, at work, and everywhere in between impacts on our environment. Consumers and organizations at all levels are increasingly aware of their environmental impact, so having a good environmental record can give a business a considerable advantage in the modern marketplace. Yet despite the momentum towards more sustainable economies, we are still using resources and producing waste faster than the environment can handle.
Hi viewers, how are you? A very energetic and young lady, Connie Messenger from USA is with me, and we will discuss about the achievements of Connie Messenger. And hi Connie, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you. I'm incredibly honored and grateful to have a conversation with you today. Thank you for all that you do to be in service of the world.
Thank you so much. We are also honored that you came into our program, and from this platform, we will discuss about your life and what are your achievements, goals, and what you have actually written. You said that you have written the book, and you are an occupational therapist, educator, and life coach. So please tell us about yourself and our audience.
So, a little bit about me. I primarily work as an occupational therapist with the pediatric population. I have two mindfulness meditation certifications. I have a life coaching certification. And there's a new thing that most people don't know. I'm about to actually become a neurolinguistic programmer certified as well over the next few weeks, which I'm super excited about. I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning, taking classes, having conversations. I love I also work at university, and when I'm teaching or working with parents or children, whether the child is 2 or 5, or whether individuals and students that I'm working with are 18 or 20 or 15 or 75, it's ultimately I go into it as how can I be a service and how can I learn, how can I grow? And I try to cultivate this tabula rasa, which is a blank slate perspective of coming into it as best as I can, as learning, as growing from anything and anything, whether it's little animals or little children or older children or whatever it may be. It's cultivating how can I learn, how can I grow, how can I be of service. And that's my big mission and my big goal is in service, whether it's through teaching, through speaking, through writing. It's how can I be of service for those that are interested.
Okay, great. So you also wrote a book. Can you please tell us about the book that you have written?
Yeah, so I wrote a book in December. It's actually going to be published. There's actual publishing date on September 15th, and it's a children's book. The intention is for kids. However, it can be used for adult. It can be really used and have an impact on anyone. The idea is bringing mindfulness meditation to children in a fun, simple manner. And the idea is realizing the breath, whether I'm sitting, whether I'm standing, and noticing my thoughts. Is it loud? Is it quiet? Noticing my breath as a balloon. And that's some of the ideas and some of the content that is written. I'm so incredibly honored and grateful. This is the book. I think you're seeing half of it. And you guys get to be one of
Yeah,
the
that's.
first people.
Will you please show down to it, little bit down? Yeah, what's the name?
So here's
Okay.
there we go. I think that's better.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is the book. And people
Just
that
a
are
minute.
interested, they can find it on my website, which is
Breathe. Yeah.
CHANIEMESSINGER.com. And I'm going to be placing a pre-order link over the coming days. And this book would have not been created without my incredible illustrator, Danny, and got endorsed by 3 incredible people. And I'm super duper excited. And I feel like what's needed in the world, there's a lot of uncertainty, even more than ever. There's a lot of unknowns, even though we always have it, but it's to another level and another degree. There's a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and this is a book, and especially in the States, a lot of children are starting to go back to school end of August, beginning of September, and this is a book that can just help cultivate a little bit more peace and a little bit more calm and a little bit more present into each and every child, each and every parent, each and every teacher, each and every educator that works with children. This book is for them.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very informative book and will change the life of the child as well as for the youngster. That's great. Okay, so what is the theme actually you are using, and what is the age limitations of the book? I mean, it's for adults and children, and means 25 years old, 30 years old up to, or
I would say
what?
really any child. However, I would say for children as young as 2 and as old, but not to say old, as 13 or 14 years old. And the idea is if there's older children, they can read it to the younger children in the home. And even if there isn't, the older child can learn like a mindfulness idea in a very simple way, because sometimes meditation is perceived as something really complex, and it can be, yet it doesn't have to be. And the idea of the book is to really expose everyone to meditation in a very fun, simple way.
Okay. So what do you mean by the occupational therapist?
So
What does it mean? Please share with our audience.
So occupational therapy, I feel like it gets, sometimes people really don't have the idea of what occupational therapist is, and there might be the association that occupational therapist has to do with finding a job, which is, it can be a component of it, but that's not really it. So occupational therapist, a simple way that I like to define it is anything that occupies a person's time, an occupational therapist can come in to help when a person is experiencing challenges or difficulty with it. So what do I mean by that? So if a person is having difficulty to cooking, to walking, to writing, to reading, an occupational therapist can come in and help the person be able to do those skills better as it relates to functionality and daily, day-to-day routines and experiences. So within let's say working with pediatrics, or working with geriatrics, or working with adults, the focus in the area is really going to vary. So in pediatric, which is the area that I'm very familiar with, it's really, I'm working with children and their parents. It's primarily, especially over the past few months, teaching parents skills to better help their child. So I assess many different areas, and just in a nutshell of what things that I'm looking at is their fine motor, their child's ability to use their fingers and finger motion. I'm looking at their gross motor, which is large movements, walking and running, and the use of the overall hand, that would be considered gross motor. I'm also looking at visual perception, which has to do with the eyes and the ability to differentiate and to perceive things with our vision. Let's say, for example, a child in the school setting would need to be able to, if they're, let's say, 6 or 7 years old, sitting in the classroom, they would need to be able to copy what's written on the board. So that would be one of the components is visual perception. I'm looking at the board, and then I'm being able to write in my paper what I'm seeing
I cannot hear your voice. Yeah, Now you
Is it,
can.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's okay. Yeah, exactly. I can hear you
Perfect.
now. Yeah.
So another area that I look into is sensory and sensory processing. How are they responding to touch? How are they responding to movement? How are they able to smell and taste and feel? And I want to assess that as it relates to their ability to function in the school environment. Are they having difficulty sitting? Are they always up and about? Maybe there's something with the vestibular system. Maybe when they're writing really, really hard, or they're writing really light. Maybe there's something with their hand strength, or maybe there's something with their proprioception system. So there's three primary. Typically, when we think of the sensory system, we think of five, right? We hear, we see, we touch, we taste, and we feel. But there's really eight, and there's two areas that often gets neglected and not really realized that it's part of the system. And there's the vestibular system, which in a nutshell is our movement and balance system. And it's activated by our inner ear. So anytime we're changing the position of our head, we're activating the vestibular system. And sometimes anybody can have hypersensitivity to movement, or they can have a hyposensitivity. So some people may crave and seek a lot of movement, and some people may not want a lot of movement because they get very overstimulated. So that's a system that I look into when working with anyone. Another system is the proprioception, which has.
Jenny, your voice is absent again.
Am I back?
I can. Yeah, back. Yeah.
Okay. So our
Something goes wrong with it. Yeah, no problem. You go
it's
ahead,
like a
please.
blink
Go
of an
ahead.
eye, like something goes and it's working and it's great, and when it
Yeah.
doesn't, it's like, okay, there's room for problem solve. There's room for like breathing and just using that space to just be with whatever comes up in the moment, you know. So as I was saying, so proprioception has to do with a lot to do with where our muscles is and where our body is, and it's amount of pressure that we're exerting, and it has to do with our muscle spindles. And sometimes children are writing really, really hard. There might be an indication with something with their proprioception system. Sometimes individuals are bumping into things or banging into things, so that would be an indication of the proprioception. And some of the times these two areas are not really looked into. There's another system which I don't really I have a nice idea of it, but it's not something I focus. It's called the interoception system. It has to do with our physiological response, our need when we're hungry, when we're tired, when we're lonely. It's our internal mechanism of what our body is feeling. And that's also another system that comes into play within the sensory system. So typically when I'm working with individuals, I assess their gross motor, their fine motor, their visual perception, their sensory, and their activities of daily living, their ability to feed, their ability to eat, their ability to get dressed. And I'll also look into their functional mobility, their ability to get from one room to the other room, their ability for functional speech. Are they able to express their wants, their needs, and their desires to get to functionality, to get to I'm hungry and I want a snack, or I'm hungry and I want dinner, or I'm sad and I want to go take a nap, or I'm tired and I need my blanket, or whatever it may be. So it's very individualized, but typically those are primarily the top 6 areas that I'm looking at. And I work hand in hand with parents. And a lot of the times at this point, I'm doing coaching with the parents of making sure that they're cultivating their own self-care. That has been a big topic that I've been talking with parents, the importance of for themselves and their child, sleeping and eating and exercising every day, and for especially the parents taking time for themselves, reading, running, biking, journaling, conversation with friends or family, to really help so that they can better be there for the child. And an acronym that I like to use is called FLY, which stands for First Love You. And especially as parents and as caregivers, it's important to really love oneself first and to really cultivate a self-care practice so that I can be there for the other people in my family. And it may come across as that I'm being selfish and self-centered, that I'm taking an hour to meditate or to read or to write or to journal, but it's really an act of love for myself so that I can have this space to be there for my family and to be of service up to my friends. And that's been a key theme that I've been working with parents on at this point. And it's not only am I working with the child, I'm really working a lot with the parents to teach them the skills. I'm working directly with the child, working on the skills and working on the mental health and the mental well-being of the parent, because primarily the parent is the person that is taking care of the child when it comes down to it. or the primary caregiver.
Okay, so with this, a child can become a very strong in body wise, in physically strong and mentally strong, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if a child is focusing on studies, then you teach basically parents that they should also see the child as he should also be to be meditate or to go somewhere for jungle or forest for peace, for mountain areas, for betterment of the and vision and brought the vision of the child.
So let's say, for example, if I'm working with a parent and a child that has a teenager, a parent that has a teenage child, it's really the realization, if the child's studying, does the child need assistance? Does the child need aid? So maybe I'll have a conversation with the child to give different ideas and suggestions to help with study aid. If the child is experiencing anxiety, maybe I'll have conversations of different anxiety things that can help. However, it's ultimately, when I'm also working with the parent, it's what is coming up for the parent. How is the parent-child dynamic? And maybe I'm going to have conversation about ideas and suggestions with the parent dynamic that can really help them as well. That's really the idea also that's coming into mind. So maybe the parent and child will have conversation about it, or maybe when I'm treating the parent, I'm just primarily working with the parent and primarily working with the child, and maybe I'll bring them two and two together to help catapult whatever may be needed at that time. And ultimately, with parents, if they're interested in a meditation practice, I'll teach them a meditation. I'll teach them different ways to cultivate being mindful. And typically, parents are serving models for their children. So if they're modeling a mindfulness behavior, it's likely maybe the child will have an interest. And if they do, great. And if they don't, great. It's never about forcing a child ever to do anything whatsoever. It's really the parent is modeling, let's say, the skill. If, let's say, especially in terms of meditation, they're modeling the skill, and if the child is interested, then they'll have conversation. If they're not, like, okay, they're not, and they're not at the point. Because if it's not about ever forcing, okay, there's certain things in the home, there's expectations or things that need to be met between child and parent, and helping with the home dynamic for sure. Not really talking about that, but really taking in consideration when it comes to certain skills that I'm teaching or ideas, it's never ever for a parent ever to force a child to do any of it. It's really the child wanting to, and if they want to, great. And if they don't, it's great, and it's releasing, and they're not at that place. Maybe I'll try to tweeze it in or come up with another idea and another suggestion that makes it more fun and more exciting. And again, if the child's interested, great. And if they're not, it's like, okay, releasing that. They're not at that place. They're not at that point to want to do whatever it may be.
So, how much parents, how do you convey the parents that they should follow these type of instructions of yours, or means, is there any hurdles that you found by understanding parents?
So there's a hurdle really that I've been noticing is time, and especially 24 hours for the most part, 7 days a week. They're at home with their children. Now it's a little bit less, but that was especially until I would say June, because now kids are going to day camp in my area. But the big thing that's been coming up is time and time management. So I've been having a lot of conversations about balancing of time, different ideas and suggestions to help with that. And for parents that are not interested in meditation, I'll just leave it. And this is where they're at. And meditation is not, it's for people that are interested in learning. Yes, there's research and there's so much benefit, but the same idea is like you bring a horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink the water. So it's the same idea. I can give parents ideas. Okay, there's meditation, there's mindfulness practices, there's different time management, there's stress management, there's all these different things, but ultimately can't force anyone to do anything. If there's interested, then I'll have more of conversation about it. If there's no interest, I'll just, okay, there's no interest, and I'm just going to take that step back. And it's really working with clients that are valuing and seeing the importance of mindfulness, seeing the importance of the child parent dynamic, seeing the importance as a child serving as a teacher, and parents that are understanding that. And it's not working with a parent that's saying that everything needs to be to the T, X, Y, and Z. Those are the type of parents that I'm personally not really interested in working with, because it's not within my ideology and my beliefs and my mindset.
Okay, so what do you think is the difference between educator and the teacher? So can we say the teacher is an educator or educator is a teacher?
Yeah, I've never actually really thought about it like that. I think anyone can be called a teacher. You can have the profession, you can call the name, okay, I'm teaching first grade, I'm teaching university, I'm teaching college, I'm teaching my child. We all can have that title of a teacher. But can differentiate a teacher is being an educator, I think. And it's through being of service. And I personally think you're an educator when students are learning and students are interested in learning and they're realizing maybe the importance of lifelong learning. They're able to tap into their passion based on what the teacher is teaching. It's not just math, it's math because of the importance of I need to know this when I'm going to the grocery store and how to manage my money. It's not just math. I'm interested in learning maybe accounting, so it's not just math for me. The teacher is adding a more lifelong skill with it and connecting it to everyday life. So when I'm teaching, let's say mindfulness meditation, it's not just mindfulness meditation. I'm bringing in my experience. I'm bringing in other clients' experiences. I'm bringing the other class participants' experience. So it's not just mine, and it's not just black and white of what is written. It's collectively, it's bringing in, experiencing it, and making things relatable to the present day. I'm not just learning to read. I'm learning to read. Why? Because I have an interest in astrology, or I have an interest in knitting. I have an interest in learning about monkeys. Depending on where the individual's at, that's why I'm learning, and it's sparking into that lifelong lesson. I want to learn at this moment because I want to learn more about monkeys. I want to learn to read at this point because I want to learn more about astrology. I want to learn more, and it's tapping into teaching certain skills. Like as a teacher, you can teach skills 100%, but it's making it more of relatable and more life skill focused and more of sparking the students' interest and needs. And it's to say that when you're teaching a class and when you're expected to teach a class, there's certain criteria that you need to do 100%. But it's how can I, like, especially now I'm lesson planning for September. I'm going to be teaching 2 full graduate level occupational therapy courses. And yes, there's material that I need to teach. However, I'm also looking at it as how can I use it in more creativity? How can I relate it to more lifelong lessons? How can I relate it to more lifelong skills? Is it everything to the T going to be able to? Am I ever going to be able to relate everything to the T like that? No, because some of the information is very rote and very black and white. But for some of it, is there a way for me to relate the information in a different way? And that's really when it comes to being a teacher and the difference of like a teacher and educator. A teacher can be an educator, and I think through incorporating passion, lifelong learning skills, experiences, and making things relatable, that it's not just written in a textbook and it's written online. It's making the connection and the link so that students that are being in the system, that they're having opportunity to learn, and maybe there's a cultivation of a lifelong process or a cultivation of a passion or a skill for that moment and for that moment. And that's really, I think, what it's about.
How much percentage you think that you have achieved to influence by this profession?
I think that I cannot put in percentage of how much, and I haven't really been like calculating. Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 10 people? Is it 100 people? Honestly, I have no idea. And it's every time that I'm coming in, I'm speaking with people all over the world. I'm always going back into my intention to be in service of others. And if I reach that one person, that is sufficient, because one person is really can catapult into thousands upon thousands. It's the realization of that one person and that one person, and ideally and a dream to reach thousands upon millions of people. And the intention of the book that I wrote is for 1 million children to have access to it. And the intention is not even me, and it's beyond me. It's to create a peaceful world. And through this book and through any other books, and there are similar books I'm sure that are out there are books on mindfulness and meditation. That's how we can change the world, by having that vision and having that idea. How can I cultivate that steps, not attaching to it and just enjoying the process of it, and having that vision of that million, that 2 million, that billion, and then things can catapult. And it starts with that one person and that one dream, and things just don't happen overnight. And my dream is to have a big influence on occupational therapy, on psychology, on social work, on just people that are interested in learning and interested in growing, and especially in terms of self-help and living an empowered and an inspired, well-rounded life. And been speaking for about 4 years, more consistently over the past year and 2 years. And I'm just like watching, and I have big visions, and I'm about to start my own business as well. And I'm just kind of taking that leap and just changing the paradigm and doing based on the skills and based on my experiences, coming up with ideas to break that paradigm. Especially, I'm noticing it's really within the school system. And a big key at this point in this moment is bringing mindfulness meditation and teaching teachers the importance of cultivating that practice. And I'm also working on my doctorate at Thomas Jefferson University in occupational therapy. And my thesis is the teacher child dynamic and how that is key for classroom and classroom dynamic, and especially bringing in a mindfulness practice and bringing in social emotional learning can really help catapult and really change the dynamic in the classrooms and in the schools. And especially if parents are interested in getting involved, it adds a whole nother level to things. And then adults getting involved and people that are working with children, that's the mission, that's the vision that's naturally coming into fruition at this point.
Really impressive, Canny. So do you have any your YouTube channel or other platform online that our audience or our user social who is running social Facebook or social media, can they get benefit from this? If you have any channel or you have any
Yes, I think they
page.
definitely. I think they can if they're interested in mindfulness. They're interested in therapy in general. They're interested in occupational therapy. They're interested in self-help. They're interested in learning to be empowered and learning to cultivate their own inspiration within themselves. Highly recommend for people that are interested. I have a new Facebook page. It's still up in development. It's Chanie Messinger. It's the same as my name listed, which is spelled CHANIMESSINGER. And they can like my page. They can follow me on my main Facebook profile. I'm on Instagram. It's written the same way, spelled the same way. My website is the same name, same way. I'm going to be doing setting up a pre-order for my book in the coming days. And my mission is really to be in service for people that are interested. And I think it's really children. Yet when it comes down to it, it's really the parents and the caregivers, it's the educators. Those are the people to really work with, because ultimately children are light and love and incredible, and we all are, but children especially are so much more tapped into their essence. And if we're able to, as educators and teachers and therapists and providers, to help them stay a little bit longer, and I think through the teachers and the providers to cultivate a meditation or a mindfulness practice, the world will really, really be a very different place, and incorporation occupation and occupational skill based as well. I think you're actually, by the way, the first person that I'm having conversation about this, because I'm cultivating a business now, and it's a lot of what I'm saying is coming into fruition naturally and slowly, because it has its challenges of creating a business. So I'm at the point where the systems that I'm working in with, especially with the children, it's just I'm not feeling it, and it's not working very well, especially in terms of people perceiving the value of it. So I'm just like taking that leap over the next few months and cultivating something that's really, I think, will be really incredible.
Yeah, very impressive, Canny. What would you like to share your last message with our audience, that if you have any experience, if you have any advice to our audience, so that they can be benefited, your last words?
I would say that it's been incredibly honored, and I'm incredibly privileged to have opportunity to have conversation with you. So thank you. I would say that the only place to live is in the moment. When we're living in the past, that can be recipe for sadness and for depression. And when we're living in the future, that's a recipe for anxiety and for anticipation. So the only place to live is in the present moment. And it's the realization the present moment has everything that we need. And there's no need to be like focus, I wish I would have done, or wish I would have said, or what's going to happen in 5 minutes or an hour. There's no need for that. It's just being in the moment. And I know for me personally, experiencing challenges would be here whether there was COVID-19 or not. However, with COVID-19, I think it made things and it adds another degree and another level. So it's the realization, no matter where we are in the world, whether you're in Pakistan or Israel or California or Florida or Europe or anywhere that you're in the world, we're all interconnected. We're all one. We're all experiencing our challenges and we're all having trickiness within our daily life. And it's the realization that it's moments, and it's 1 moment, it's 5 moments, it may be 50 moments, and it's the realization of moments. And especially for people that are really struggling, this is a moment, this is a moment, and these are moments. And it's the realization that life is constantly transforming and evolving and growing, and some moments have its challenges and some moments don't. And it's looking at it, how can I learn, how can I grow, and if need be, reaching out to professional, to psychologists, to social works, if need be a psychiatrist, especially for individuals that are experiencing a lot of mental health challenges and it's impeding on their everyday function and their everyday ability. So please reach out, and then know that things are moments and life is moments and the collectiveness of moments. And you're doing the best that you can. And it's exactly how it's meant to be. And if it wasn't meant to be, it wouldn't be happening. So there's no need to resist or fight. This is how it is, and it is what it is for this moment.
So thank you so much, Kenny. It's really been an honor for us to being here with us, and you showed your vision to our audience and us. We will meet you again and with another interesting topic. And thank you so much for being with us.
It's
Bye.
been an honor. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.